Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing, one of the fastest growing real estate investing podcasts in the world. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors? Find out what got them to where they are now. Get insight into their daily habits and take these insights to inspire your own growth. Each episode, Jonathan Greene shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a lifelong real estate investor and the founder of Streamline, a data-driven, investor-friendly, independent real estate brokerage located in Madison, New Jersey. Whether you're looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just for a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, this is the free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Thanks for showing up for another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. And this is a very important episode because it's not something that is touched on enough. We're talking short-term rental safety, risk management, and fire prevention with a renowned expert, Justin Ford. Justin created the Breezeway short-term rental safety inspector certification program. He's trained more than 10,000 hospitality professionals in person and through digital on the safety program that can help save you on your short-term rental. Let's learn all about it now. This is episode 331 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Justin Ford. Justin is a nationally and internationally recognized safety expert specializing in short-term rental safety, risk management, and fire prevention. He's a director of safety and certification programs at Breezeway. He's also a former firefighter and U.S. Coast Guard veteran and captain. Justin, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me here. And I actually even hear a slight fire truck in the background there. Was that for me?
Just for you, volunteer fire department, which occasionally puts a siren on. Maybe I can get your quick take before we even start. Why are they still using a siren for the volunteer fire department? Why can't they just, use a text thing? It drives me crazy.
No, it's tradition. When when I was a volunteer firefighter, we'd go in and it was still about hitting that button if it was a structure fire, and that got everybody's blood pumping.
It definitely does the job, but I'm not running to put it out. So anyway, that was just for you, that fire truck. But it's great to have you. I was telling you before, I bumped into your content on LinkedIn, and it was like kind of one of these moments where I was like, oh my gosh, somebody is really doing this all the time. I think it's so important. How did you get into the safety aspect of short-term rentals?
I think like everybody else, I stumbled into something that just needed a lot of attention. My background is I served in the U.S. Coast Guard, so I had an interest in safety.
Yeah.
And I was delivering a rental boat one day, and hey, nice house. And the people were like, oh, this isn't ours. We're just renting it for a week. And I was like, really? You can rent a house for a week? And that turned into managing over 600 vacation rentals. I managed owned and operated one of the largest vacation rental companies in the northeastern U.S. And then I had a safety incident.
Okay. So it comes from something that happened. Or were all of these in Maine, or were they Maine and other states?
Yeah, Maine was home base of operations, the entire coast. So my former company worked on waterfront properties, lake and ocean.
Yeah. Well, what was the incident that happened that led to this? Because now there's so many more things that I think can happen. But as I was telling you before, I was doing short-term rentals 20, 25 years ago. And because I was an attorney, I was just nervous about everything. We tried to have amenities, but also amenities where someone's not going to cut their finger off or, blow themselves up.
Yeah, I was nervous about everything too. Being a safety expert, I was a volunteer firefighter at the same time. I thought I was doing a great job checking smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms, egress.
Yeah.
I thought I had it. And one day I just, did somebody a favor and wasn't paying attention, offered to help a property owner that their caretaker was out sick, and just assembled a hammock stand. There was a new one and an old one, and the house slept a lot of people. Unfortunately, that old one gave way with a heavier set guest when they got into it. It nearly killed her. In fact, she coded, fractured her skull, changed her life forever, and certainly made me go, wait a minute, I thought I was doing everything right. Where the heck did this come from? So that's when I started looking around.
Wow. Boy, I bet you found a lot.
Yeah, I started looking around and I'm like, wait a minute. If I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing and thinking I am and thinking I'm a leader in this and this happened to me,
Yeah.
what about all the people that don't have my background that aren't paying attention? And that's when I got in with some of the big insurance companies that were like, we're out of here. In fact, back in 2013, when that happened, there was over 30 insurance companies that would insure vacation rentals, and now there's less than 10. And it's because they
Wow.
all said, this is too much. We're out of here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's because it's such a nondescript thing too. A hammock. It's like one of the last things that people would think about. I mean, I've fallen off them when they're just on the ground. So I would think it is, but I think people aren't thinking this. And I guarantee you there's a bunch of short-term rental operators right now who've never really done a proper safety check. Is that part of what you found in talking to these thousands of people through your courses and through Breezeway?
Yeah, I'm fortunate. I'll be bold here. No one's challenged me on this. I probably step inside of more vacation rentals annually than anybody else in our industry.
Yeah.
And what's really special for me is I get to do that globally. I'm working in Australia. I've got
Oh, that's
inspections
awesome.
happening,
Yeah.
in India, Bombay, UK, Germany, Utah. So, I mean, all over. And I'm able to take and learn from those experiences and see things that we can do to improve and also see, hey, I just was at a property that had this happen and you're looking like you're going to have the same thing happen to you if you don't step on it. So it's been really interesting to share those experiences as I get to see them.
Are hosts having like a shock moment, almost like a first time home buyer when they get their first home inspection report and they're like, whoa, this is all the stuff I was missing?
Yeah, I get asked all the time. Somebody just asked me this morning, like, have you ever been in a property where you're like, this is perfect? Um, it it's rare that has. I can't think of anything. There are a
Yeah.
couple operators that are getting closer and closer, and they're trying to be closer and closer. But generally speaking, there is. But the flip side of that is, when it comes to vacation rentals, short-term rentals, nothing's ever perfect. The mattress is never good enough
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
everybody. The Wi-Fi is never fast enough. They never have the right TV channel lineup you want. But the one thing I firmly believe you can do is you can make your property safe without, turning it into a rubber room with making people wear sumo wrestler suits. You can be successful at that.
Yeah, it must be hard though, because, as a kind of like mini landlord doing it for short term rentals, we have to assume that adults who come there, even if they come with kids or pets, that they have a certain level of care. But you also have to almost in your head think like kind of like to idiot proof the place without, like you said, making, bubble wrap on all the walls. So it must be an interesting line to follow in terms of, hey, can this still look good and also be safety functional?
Yeah, and I've been really fortunate. One of the conferences I spoke at recently, and I speak at over 50 annually, one is for short-term rental designers. And it's
Mm,
been really powerful that I've been able to work with the leading short-term rental designers that are out there to incorporate some of the safety features that I think should be in the properties, but also make them so they blend in. For
yeah.
example, someone recently had a bookshelf on a 3-step down that they incorporated and turned it into a handrail. So it still was a bookshelf, but also was a clever handrail going down and didn't look like out of place or
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, because it is matching. I mean, there's a million companies and courses on aesthetics and revenue management, of course, but like I really feel like I've never seen anybody else besides you who's this deep on the safety end. But it could honestly save somebody so much. I think they think of little things like, oh, my ADR is down, but one serious lawsuit or injury could, disrupt everything that you've ever done and could eventually get to you personally liable.
Yeah, unfortunately, most of it, they're very frustrated. I'm a make sure this never happens type of
Yeah, yeah,
person. And a lot, I can't even, I think it's 3, 4 times today. I can't even tell how many this week. And we're only, a couple days in.
yeah,
Operators that reach out to me and go, hey, we know you do a lot of this safety stuff and we want to learn from you at some point. But anyway, we've had an incident. What do we do? And I'm
yeah.
like, I'm sorry, I'm not the after guy. I'm not an
Right, right.
attorney. I'm not, I can tell you how it happened and I can tell you you're not the first, but I'm not the one that says what you have to do to deal with the situation after it's happened.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good tip for when we get to the end. I'll ask you who the ideal avatar is for you and for Breezeway, and I'm sure it'll be there. But let's go over kind of like your top 5 safety hazards in current short-term rentals that you see. For me, I would just guess the most obvious one is fire pits, just because it's fire and someone could just trip and fall into it. That's how I think. And my son and I stayed at one in Saugerties, New York, and he did the fire. I'm not into fire, so I will never do it. And yeah, we really felt like at one point it was getting too high. And I'm like, this is why I don't do this. I got worried, stayed up like late to make sure it was out. Is that one of the top 5? I'm assuming it's in there.
It's in there. Number one is slips, trips, and falls. So certainly the trip and fall part of it goes in there.
Yeah.
Short-term rentals mirror the same thing that happens with the home, generally speaking. The home is the most dangerous place that human beings encounter. And I just was doing an interview in Australia. They're at 56%. New Zealand's at 62%. The US is at 53%. More than half of all injuries human beings encounter is in the home. And so slips, trips, and falls are the big one. And a lot of those happen, right as guests are arriving. So it's, poor lighting, steps and handrails that aren't set to code, aren't set up properly. Just even those one-steppers. All the time I'm seeing where, someone stepped down just one step. It wasn't clearly marked, but that was just enough to throw them off.
Yeah, and those are also things like you said. If you're kind of been a homeowner and then you get your vacation rental, you may just overlook it because you're used to stepping over something,
Exactly.
And you're not thinking of like, okay, look, first of all, everybody doesn't have the same mobility, which is super important. That there's other people who are coming in there who might not be, but you really have to like reverse engineer yourself and stop looking as someone who's walked into as many homes. You have to think like someone's coming in there, and there is a new crop of short-term rental guests who are looking for trouble. They're looking for a freebie.
Yeah, there's a lot of America's number one when it comes to litigious things, and everybody gets sued when something happens. The problem, and I talk about it a lot lately, is it's a societal problem here in America. We don't have home safety training as part of what we do. The doctrine for safety in America is in kindergarten. Fire department comes. I used to do it when I was a firefighter. Hand out the red helmets, go home, kids, tell your parents to do a fire drill, and then nothing ever happens again.
Yeah.
So it's and then we've set things up in most environments. Hotels and cruise ships are set up so that if there is a safety incident, there's a plan to address them.
Yeah.
Vacation rentals haven't run into that yet. They haven't set that up. We're still counting on the human being that goes in there to figure out what to do. We're not putting the systems in place like other forms of travel to make sure that we're accounting for the fact that they're going to do it. And by the way, they're probably going to be intoxicated in your property while they do it.
Right. Yeah. So in maybe in all areas, but certainly in fire friendly areas like California, are like evacuation protocols important, or in Florida where you're going to have major weather issues, tornadoes, storms like that?
As a percentage, we just haven't seen that many deaths from that type of thing. So it hasn't been a concern. But, if we go back to the top 5, grill fires are big. Fire pits are a big, huge problem in America. We have lots of incidents from them. Kids falling into them, roasting marshmallows, cooking around them.
And they're almost all open. You know what I mean? Almost every fire pit that I see has open fire. Like there's no way, like if someone falls, they're getting burned. I don't know if there's a solution to that, but there has to be something else that can make it, safer.
I'm a big believer in having them taller. There's very few commercial made gas fire pits, for example, that people are always asking me, what do you recommend?
Yeah.
If I had a minute, I'd just design and build the one that I would recommend, because I don't really see them out there. I kind of like the ones that have the glass windscreen around them that protects a little bit more. But a lot of people don't think about the fact that, marshmallow and grease from hot dogs dripping into those gas fire pits clogs and causes, jets of fire to burst out at different times. So they're not using them right. And then you get into the wood fire pits. I just saw, on the news where there was a big fire down in North Carolina just the other day at a vacation rental. The guest
Yeah.
didn't properly secure it. So that was a wood burning one. So the procedures that you can put in place more than what the product is to ensure that guests are going to have a safe operation.
Yeah, and it must be, as I mentioned before, and I've seen in stuff that I've read about you, there must be this like clash of aesthetics versus safety, because I see like the wood burning saunas now, and to me, I'm like, that just look. I mean, technically, I guess aesthetically, it might look a little cooler. It just looks way more dangerous and way more problematic, and it's also more on the guest to do,
Yeah.
than maybe an infrared sauna, which doesn't have as good a look as a barrel sauna, which is, somewhere in the middle, but also that infrared's not catching on fire.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. These are amenities and add-on saunas, hot tubs, swimming pools, pickleball courts. I
Yeah.
mean, it's a hot new thing. I was just in Palm Springs, California. Someone's got a lazy river at their short-term rental investment property. The thing is, for some reason, there's this path right now that says you've got to have more amenities to make more money. I don't believe in that.
I completely agree with you, and I'll want to get your full take on it. But I've been saying over and over, especially the markets that I work for short-term rentals, which is generally like upstate New York, I'm seeing much more just like wellness, relaxation. But I'm also, my goal and a lot of my clients' goal is not to have, a 20-person, short-term rental game house. So yeah, tell us how that's, changed.
Generally speaking, I'm working with more and more co-hosts. It's the newer sector of our industry that's coming along. People who don't call themselves property managers. But for the past 28 years, I've worked with property managers. And, there's a good chunk of investment properties offered as vacation rentals in the U.S. that are managed by professional managers.
Right.
And they
big companies. Yeah.
Good big companies. And they're not putting in pickleball courts or telling their owners to do that. And they're booked and they're doing a great job. If you're going to, go skiing in Park City, I guess maybe you might go above and beyond and want that mountaintop house from the Steve Carell movie where the billionaires had, their own private ski lift. But there's over, I think there's close to 5,000 vacation rentals in that market. Some of them may have a hot tub, but generally speaking, they don't have any flashy bells and whistles, and they're generating a good pile of revenue for the investor owners that have them.
Yeah, and definitely a safer amount of revenue because less amenities, less potential, other than trip and fall. You're just, if you have like a rock climbing wall, you're just setting yourself up for potential injury. I mean, of course, there's ways to insure it and to give instructions, but anything that's out there is a potential hazard, right? That somebody could trip over, burn themselves, drown in. I mean, these are the things that we're trying to, give people a little bit more insight into.
Yeah, one of the things that I talk a lot about that I think probably resonates with your listeners is framing bias. And that is you're looking and seeing these properties and going, wow, that's flashy, that's cool, and thinking that that's okay when it's not. There was an example with a property in North Carolina that had a water slide, and everybody's like, oh, we got to do the water slide. The lawyer said it's okay. Well, then someone was severely injured in that.
Yeah.
And they're not okay. And to me, the red flag wasn't the water slide. The red flag was when you look through their listing photos, they were marketing their hot tub with green foamy water in it. And I'm thinking, if this operator doesn't even know to use good listing photos with clear, clean hot tub water, I'm not trusting them to go down this, 80-foot water slide into the lake with boats zipping by.
Yeah. I mean, that just, I'm thinking of like a zip line. No, I mean, and I've seen them and I see the kind of, what I would call more aggressive amenities that have scale in terms of revenue, but I think they have much more scale and liability as well. And that's, again, what worries me, especially for the people who get into it as investors. They hire a co-host or someone to property manage them and they're really like checked out. They're not thinking, hey, did you get like a safety check? Because the company's saying, oh, yeah, we took a virtual look at it. Looks fine. Yeah.
That's the real problem is that the OTAs, and I'm talking about booking.com, VRBO, Airbnb, they don't have a say in the safety of your property. They're going to tell you, make it safe, follow local laws. But even the most advanced luxury inspections that say Airbnb does for their Lux program,
Yeah.
they don't involve safety. So it's hard for a lot of operators to understand that it's on them, it's on what they need to do. But if they don't know where the resources are to do that, and they're looking online and going, well, geez, my neighbor's getting all kinds of bookings with all kinds of these, he's got arcade machines and a neon light, and he's got these string lights that go out over a fire pit. I need to keep up with the Joneses. I need to do the same thing. And yet I can take them to an operator that's not within sight and they're crushing it. They don't have any of that stuff. I'm not saying don't do it, but if you're going to do it, you got to have your I's dotted and your T's crossed and have a good plan in place to make sure it's safe all the time.
In regard to hot tubs, is the bigger issue potential drowning safety or, contamination? Because it just seems like those things don't get cleaned well.
Yeah, a lot of the issues that we're seeing with hot tubs right now are people getting injured, getting in and out of them. In most cases, they're above a deck. They're typically 3 to 4 feet up. So you've got to go up several steps.
Yeah.
And you're lifting your leg up and you're stepping into typically a curved seat and can go down.
Slide. Yeah.
$50 handrail would fix that. I walk into properties all the time and it blows my mind. I'll stand there with the owner and the operators and I'll be like, okay, so where do I put my towels? And they all look around and they're like, well, I mean, you just can set them over there. I'm like, great. So
you're getting in, holding the towel.
Yeah. I'm here vacationing and I got to walk 10 feet to go to the towel. That's creating that mad rush. And you have all these trip hazards in the way. You've got to put a process in place here that takes reality, not just because you like to walk, in your swimsuit back into the house doesn't mean all your guests are going to do it. So those are the type of things that I see. But the other one with hot tubs, and it blows my mind. I still see it all the time, like messages to the guests, add a scoop of chlorine. Oh my God, don't do that.
I mean,
hot tub rash is real. We've had 9 cases of Legionnaire's disease in hot tubs in the past year. CDC's all over that. You've got to have a professional who's maintaining it, that's certified. Let them take the insurance hit. Some markets now are even going to, you have to replace the water between guests. Montana,
that's a lot.
Requirement.
Between guests?
Between guests. So yeah, there's a lot
there.
Check
that thing out, put us on it. And I mean, it is a lot. That the maintenance is a lot, and I can see how it could be an issue. But the funny thing with, I mean, this is just for me personally. I don't like to do a lot of stuff. Like when I go into short-term rentals, which I've been staying at my whole life, I just want to relax. Like I'm always looking for those. I don't need the amenities at all. But I think that a lot of this stuff is just for the photos. I personally don't even know that many people that I know who would go in a hot tub at a short-term rental because they would think, I don't know if it's clean. There's no way to know. So, I'd much quicker go into an infrared sauna or a barrel, like a regular sauna, just because there's really no risk. It's been cleaned, or you could just wipe it down yourself. So these things are like, a lot is for the aesthetic value and then to get people to book. I don't know how many people are actually using those things. Good for pictures.
Yeah. AirDNA says that hot tubs are a top amenity. But you bring up a good point, and I think that's one of the things that's going to drive change, is getting more people to speak up and say, I won't do that. That's what it's going to take. And certainly I won't get in a hot tub at any vacation rental unless I see that there's a service label or I have proof that someone has come and serviced it before I've arrived there. And there are operators doing that. I was with an operator.
Nice.
There was an operator in Deep Creek, Maryland, who I visited recently. And they, I show up and there's a nice Post-it note right on the door leading out to the hot tub that has it's just been serviced. That's reassuring to me. So now I'm going to the next operator and going, why aren't you doing this?
Yeah.
This is what we need to do.
I mean, I'm sure when you talk to people, it becomes an ROI issue. Well, if I have to spend this, it reduces my thing, but you're also trying to reduce your liability. And I think you have a potential for more recurring revenue from guests telling other people, hey, they had this post on the door, like we actually used the hot tub for the first time because we know it was serviced.
Yeah, I'm not a big financial guy, and I know a lot of your investors are, but I've been in the industry 28 years. I've bought and sold many vacation rentals. My mindset has always been that your revenue that you're going to generate on a short-term rental is from appreciation, and everything else that's going on in between is paying the mortgage, paying for safety, paying for maintenance. But I understand there's people who disagree with it, but that's how I roll.
Yeah, and don't you think that if you do your best, even if you're spending more to provide the best experience, including the safest experience, it will eventually become a higher ROI like that because you're
Yeah.
saving yourselves from all the it's like not doing repairs. Well, it's just going to get worse. That water is then going to become mold. So the longer you wait to implement it, it's not going to work. You're just going to end up with a bigger problem.
I love this discussion point. We're seeing it happen right now. Sevier County, Tennessee, which is where Smoky Mountains,
Yeah,
Gatlinburg,
Gatlinburg. Yeah.
one of the top destinations for vacation rentals in the United States. They've put some severe restrictions in place, and I'm sure some of your listeners are seeing, properties for sale with $80,000 and $90,000 seller credits.
Right.
Going, wow, what's this all about? But it's because it now needs a sprinkler system. So
Interesting. Wow.
to be able to rent it and get a permit, you're going to have to install a sprinkler system. That's about what it's going to cost. So
Yeah.
I have been trying to get operators to look, and this might be one of the biggest nuggets I give you. People sometimes say, I want to say, out of a market that looks like it's getting regulated. I say invest in that property ahead of time.
I agree.
In that regulated market by making that property as safe as possible, exceeding requirements, what they could be. And now you're in a much better position when those regulations come into place. And we've seen it. I've seen it in Scottsdale, Arizona. They happened almost overnight. And the operators that had their ducks in a row certainly took advantage of it.
Yeah, I completely agree. Again, I think it's one of the smartest decisions that you can make. You're going to spend up to do it, but when things change, you're going to be the first one greenlit. They're going to come in and say, oh, this is our model property. 50% is going to go out of the market. And here you are sitting with the only opportunity. You're going to be booked, much more than normal. It's just very good advice. And, it's forward thinking. People look at the kind of cash flow of it, but short-term rentals isn't like a usual immediate cash flow because you're putting money in, your down payment goes in. So you should be thinking at least like, hey, let's get to the third year. But you won't get to the 10th year if you don't think like this, especially with that. That's crazy though, because a sprinkler system is like such almost like an oxymoron in some ways because it's there for safety, but somebody could set it off by doing something dumb and then your whole place is drenched.
Right.
And then you have another, water fix issue to handle. Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode with Justin Ford, and I want to let you know, in the show notes, you have a promo code, 50Zen. It's for the safety course that Justin has at breezeway.io/resources/safety. You can find it there. When you go to check out, your $300 course will cost $50. And if you go into the show notes, you'll also find a guide that we talk about on the show, what to look for before you buy an Airbnb property, pre-purchase safety checklist. High-end resources just for you. Now let's finish it off with Justin.
I know it happens. I don't see a lot of those. I do talk about that with operators. Interestingly, going back to that top 5, fire is actually, according to insurance statistics, only about 3% of the incidents that we see.
Interesting.
They
I guess because people know it's hot and stay away. It's an accident. Yeah.
They get the most attention because it's big. You look out the door, and some of the biggest, most high-profile incidents that are going on for short-term rentals right now, other than the parties that keep happening with the shooting, are fire-related. There was a vacation rental that caught on fire just a couple of days ago in Indio, right outside of Palm Springs, and burned down, and it was because of something related to the fireplace. And there's another one that's part of a huge federal lawsuit with Airbnb that's up in Wisconsin where several people died. So those are the ones that get all the news.
Right.
But the reality is the ones that I hear the most from, and I just want to be clear, I don't do expert witness work, but the ones that I get reached out to about the most are slips and falls in bathrooms, guest arrival, lights. The one other nugget I'll throw out to you here related to that: take a suitcase that weighs 50 pounds and your cell phone and navigate from your car at the furthest point in the driveway into the house. You're going to learn so much. Do that at night, because that's when guest injuries happen a lot. And we don't take into account that that's the experience they're going through. They haven't been there before. They're having to fix that.
And carry a 20-pound sack because maybe you have a kid. So you
Exactly.
have a kid in one hand, you're pulling a thing, and now there's 2 steps down. It is real. I always tell people, when you're doing your first short-term rental, send 4 people that you know to stay there for free first. Outside it, don't worry about the reviews. Just get all the feedback you can. Tell them to be completely brutal. You'll fix up a lot that way. And they may give you some great safety tips where they trip, and you're going to save yourself a big hassle by then going and recreating what they did and being the guest yourself, like you said.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I can't agree with you more. That is the one to do. And if you don't have the ability to do that, there's over 2 million hours on YouTube and Vimeo that people post of their vacations and vacation rentals and what they're doing. And you can
Yeah.
just watch those videos and go, oh, wow, look at what they're doing there.
Yeah. And like you said, it's good to get ahead of the curve on it. Let's go through some of these others I see here that you have. How bad are bunk beds? I personally don't like them in short-term rentals because I'm not trying to cater to like having that many people and kids. I'm fine having kids if you set it up that way, but bunk beds, I never thought were safe. I only slept on the top when I had the bottom also. It was just my bed, so I could go back and forth.
They're a bad one. There's 33,000 bunk bed incidents that require ER visits in the United States. Most recent years, 2024, that we have those records.
Yeah.
In short-term rentals all the time, there's this focus on this heads and beds, and they're converting smaller rooms. They're not taking the ceiling fans out. I can't believe how many times I'm going in and there's a ceiling fan over a bunk bed. Probably about 8,000 of the incidents that I saw in 2024 from that were related to ceiling fan strikes.
Yeah.
Certainly, one of the things that we don't account for are that these kids, a lot of times may not have a bunk bed at home, and part of going on vacation is that.
Yeah.
And so you've got to meet. It's one of the few things. There's 2 things that are related to federal law when it comes to operating a vacation rental. One are bunk beds. The other are furniture tip overs. But when it comes to bunk beds, it has to meet federal safety standards, whether it's custom or built or not. You don't need to put that 9-inch special mattress on the top bunk. It negates the guardrail that goes all the way around.
You're too high. Yeah.
I see that mistake all the time. And it's usually some sweet person going, well, I wanted to make sure my guests are comfortable. I don't know about you, Jonathan, but when I grew up, I have no idea how comfortable my bunk bed was, but when I look at the pictures, the mattress was like 2 inches thick.
Yeah, exactly. If that, it was like a mat. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't need to sleep on top of heaven clouds and all this stuff.
Yeah, you don't need a Tempur-Pedic for kids. They're good. Plus, they won't like it. You can't even jump on it, and you can't jump on the top anyway.
You can make them safe. The top insurer in our industry makes them meet all that, and then still charges an extra charge on premium for it. So that should be the sign right there, that if you're gonna do it, make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's. You're not messing around with the local sheriff on that one if something happens.
Yeah, and I've seen photos, of just like multiple bunk beds in place. I'm like, there's not even enough beds for parents here. What do you think? These kids are going on vacation, Lord of the Flies, by themselves? Like, you don't need 7 bunk beds. It's just not happening.
And that leads into, egress. And egress is a huge problem in our industry. I'll see a room, and this is where a lot of local regulators are catching the eye on this. Sedona, Arizona was a place a couple of years ago. They had big city meeting, big restrictions because someone had 9 queen bunk beds in a basement and the egress windows didn't meet code. So you've got to think about, how are people going to get out if there is a fire? Because you don't want to be responsible for that one.
Yeah, I mean, egress is, I have a residential brokerage as well. I mean, egress is really important. When we're looking at multifamilies, we're always talking about potential egress. For 3 families, you need different egress. But yeah, people aren't thinking egress is the way to get out in case of a fire. So go into a little bit about what you need downstairs. Obviously going to be a bigger window that you can climb out of, or a window that opens to a ladder that can get up, right, for downstairs. And then for attics, there's always something else. You really need a catch ladder. If you don't have kind of, I guess, stairs access, that's good. If it's more attic-y.
Yeah, it's actually pretty simple. If you don't have a fire sprinkler system in your vacation rental, every single sleeping area or bedroom, and that includes a loft, has to have an openable window that's 5.7 square feet within 40 inches of the floor. And it can't be blocked. And a
Yeah.
lot of times I go into these small craftsman houses in Nashville, tiny homes in Texas, and they've put like the only window has an air conditioner in it, or the only
Right.
window has this tall headboard bed up. And it's like, and then people think, well, someone could move the bed. I'm like, really? Granny's moving the bed? A
Yeah.
9-year-old moving
In
the
a
bed? No, they're
fire
not.
also. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you don't, and the biggest one that bothers me probably the most, I've counted over 19,000 of them, are these A-frames in cabins where especially they're putting the kids up in the loft. I was in Chattanooga, Tennessee recently, and I actually took the property owner and I cranked the heat up in the house. They had one of those propane monitor heaters. I cranked it. I brought him up to the loft. And I said, I just want you to hang out with me here for a minute. We're going to hang out. And after like 3 minutes, he goes, it's getting really hot in here. I'm like, yeah. And the heater set at 82 degrees. And look at how hot it is. He's like, yeah, it's really hot. What are you trying to show me? I'm like, imagine there's a fire.
Yeah.
And how do the kids get out? It will happen much faster than this. He's like, okay. So he said he's putting in a window. It's $3,000, but he gets it. And I think sometimes we've got to show that example to people. You've got, especially if you're putting the kids up there. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Oh, so what about decks? I mean, like decking is one of the premier things for short-term rentals. People are putting hot tubs in the deck. They're putting, long container pools on the side of the deck. But decks are always a hazard. I mean, pools with decks, they're always slick. It's always a hazard. What's been the biggest issue with decks? Is it more structural or is it more functional?
Yeah, the average life of a deck in the United States is supposed to be about 20 years. But if you're in an ocean coastal environment, Outer Banks, I was just in the Outer Banks of North Carolina. They've got a lot of press last year because someone stayed at a property where there was an issue and they talked about it with the media.
Yeah.
We just had a deck collapse just outside of Jacksonville last month. 12 people had all their luggage. They were checking out of the property and the deck collapsed and 8 went to the hospital. So we got to look at the statistics. More than 50% of decks in America right now at this moment are prone to failure.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who are cutting corners. They take a short-term rental and they're like, I'm hoping I can get 2 more years out of that deck before we sell the property and the next buyer can deal with it. And you can't have that attitude. You've got to have it inspected. It's supposed to hold 50 pounds per square foot. It's supposed to have bolts holding up ledger boards.
The footing is always the problem. I mean, I've done, thousands of transactions. And when I look at the deck always has something wrong, but it's okay if it's more cosmetic or, chipping paint. But if the footing is bad, that's when you're looking at injuries. And we're really trying to prevent major things. Of course, we don't want minor things to happen either, but you're trying to prevent this moment that shuts down your business and really could injure someone, because that's tough to live with as well. I mean, nobody's that cold to think like, hey, oh, well, they shouldn't have, jumped near the fire. Like they still fell into the fire at your place. That's not going to be easy to live with.
No, it's not. Oh, and this is preventable. I want to pause for 2 seconds. Say, I love this industry. I own a short-term rental.
We're not saying sell all your short-term rentals.
This is not, I want to make sure we're not having, this isn't an episode of, don't ever invest in a short-term rental. I definitely would encourage you to do it. There's a way to make them safe. And I'm here to say, don't do that. Here's examples where you don't. But decks are easy to manage and take care of if you do the right thing and understand that they're dangerous. Guardrails are very important on them.
Yeah.
You tie that hot tub part in. Don't put it so close to the railing that when the guest is hot in the hot tub, sits up on the edge, they fall out. We've seen that happen before.
Yeah. I can see a lot of people saying, well, that's not going to look good in the photo, and that's a mistake. I mean, safety is so much more important. I personally think that most people will appreciate it more. You can still have an Instagrammable moment somewhere else, but if you need that handrail, that's what's going to help people not fall. Like we said, I was saying in the beginning, like people of all different mobilities are coming. Some people are spry athletes, but sometimes you just trip. And if you have the rail, you catch yourself.
Here's an analogy. This might be the second biggest nugget I share. About 10 years ago, Norwegian Cruise Line said, how do we outdo the competition? How can we get more people to come on the ships? Let's give them free drinks. So they started coming up with these packages that were all inclusive for drinks. No one had done that before. In the vacation rental industry, no one has still done what the surveys show. The surveys show that luxury travelers who have never stayed in a short-term rental, 62% of them cite the reason they haven't is out of safety concerns. They're going to a resort versus a short-term rental because they don't feel they're very safe. There's a lot of negative press around them. Imagine if you market your property to that.
Yeah.
And if you take a look, people have done what I've said. There's a woman in Waterbury, Vermont. She advertises that she has a safe Airbnb in Vermont. She is #1 in organic searches. She's booked solid this next year. And she tells me that the top feedback she gets is that people say, I love that this property has a focus on safety. Do you know anybody else? So she's always asking me, Justin, who else is doing this? Because my guests love it. So there is a huge segment of people out there that want to see a fire extinguisher in a marketing photo. They want to see a pool depth marker. They want a pool alarm. They're not annoyed by them, and they want to see these safety features.
Yeah, I think it's super. I just think it puts you to the top of a different category. Like, yeah, maybe Airbnb the algorithm doesn't recognize it, but over time, other people will recognize it. I mean, and look, if you're a kid-friendly rental, parents like it. No parents are like, let's go to one that's less safe.
Yeah.
Let's go to one that looks a little janky. That's fine.
And here's the best part. The guests, when we've seen this over and over, the guests who are looking for that type of experience that are more interested in a safer stay, they're a better quality customer that's staying in your product. So now you're not dealing with, they had trashed the house, it's a mess, they had parties. Someone who's looking for a safer experience in your property is going to take better care of it. It's mind-blowing how many people don't get it, yet the people who get it are like, Justin, stop telling people. This has been huge for us.
They still won't do it. But that's a fantastic point, because I think that your subset of people think, the people who require more safety, they're going to be more annoying. No, if you're out ahead of it and you've provided it, they're going to be so thankful, and no one else is doing it. Like, and you're exactly right. Those people, they have all the things. They're much more likely to say, hey, this thing's out of place. Never leave a bad review because they know you've done 100 other things. Me as a guest, I always give I'll give almost everybody 5 stars barring a disaster, because I'm not there to crunch them, but I give them feedback during the stay, like, hey, this window unit's loose. I'm just trying to be helpful. When they respond, I'm like, okay, I hope they fix it. But if they don't, that's on them. I'm trying to do my best. But that's a really good point. I do think that brings you better guests, but you're also setting the table for somebody who wants that. Like you said, they're not the party crew's not coming to the safety house because they're going to know, there's sound monitors, pass. You're actually taking away the groups that you don't want, I think, by going high end on the safety.
Yep. Nope. That's dead on. Here you go. I can give you my address to write me a check.
Yeah. Well, we've obviously gone through all the scenarios. Like, how does somebody get started before they say they don't call you, but they want to get started on their own? How do they go through their own safety check just to make sure, is everything okay? Smoke and CO are obviously the most important. First of all, nobody likes the beeping. That's insane. Please get that stopped. But the CO, that could just kill somebody. It's happened a million times.
Yeah. So after that safety incident happened to me in 2013, and I took a look around and I went, I feel like I'm a pretty sharp guy. My background is in safety. How did I let this happen? I created a safety checklist, and at first it was taking all the stuff that's out there that's difficult to easily find, building codes, NFPA, IRC, putting all that in. But what really took it over the top was recognizing that none of those codes address short-term rentals. You will not find short-term rental in NFPA or IRC, ICC. Yeah. So it's not there. So where is it? So you have to look around, and this. I want to come back to one point here to remind me, but as you start looking around, so where are the incidents happening? And I got in with the largest insurer of vacation rentals in the U.S., and it was amazing because they shared all their claim data with me. And once I could dig into that and go, that's what's really happening. Yeah. Here's where the issues are. We were able to put together an ultimate checklist. And so by 2019, I had built a big company around that. I sold that to Breezeway, which is where I work now. And we've incorporated those checklists into all of our task management software. And what's turned out to be a fantastic thing, we never anticipated it. Breezeway's mission is about professionalizing this industry, and we believe safety is where that starts. But these records, these task management records, have turned out to save people over and over and over in court, because they can say, I can show you 9 months ago, we adjusted all our handrails. 3 weeks ago, we changed the water in the hot tub and did this. So they're able to provide these records that are proving they're not negligent as operators. So that's kind of where we ended up. And my ideal safety checklist has about 77 points on it. I've put a course together that will guide you through online. We've had tens of thousands. In fact, it's the largest certification program of any kind globally in short-term rentals is the safety course that I wrote. Tens of thousands of people have gone through it. We've saved hundreds of lives, prevented tons of injuries. And
that's the short-term rental safety inspector certification program, STRSI.
STRSI. Some people sit there and go, wait a minute, I don't want to be an inspector. I just want to have a property. It's designed, everyone who should be an inspector, you should all be inspecting your property.
Good point.
I had a lovely couple reach out to me last night. Over the weekend, they sat down and they spent about 6 hours together, and they just invested in a short-term rental. They went through the course, and now they're prepared, and they're going to go forward with what they need to do to set their property up right. And, I've got all kinds of advice on that.
I mean, I think was there something you wanted to get back to, though? You said, remind me to get back to something.
Yeah. The one cool thing is that tie-in with the insurance company has led to a discount. So, the insurer that we work with now, gives their largest discount as a result of people going through the safety program. And the benefit there is that's pretty huge. I don't even know if I'm allowed to publicly say it, but let's just say there's been almost no claims in the 7 years now we've worked with them related to safety. So it works. And that's why they're giving that really big discount to people who do this.
Yeah, I think it's great that people can take it on their own and then take responsibility for their property. Even if they have a co-host, they can make their property manager or co-host take the course too, make sure that everybody's on the same page. And now I see why Checklist Manifesto was your favorite book. Obviously that's the kind of like airplane pilot Bible that can trickle down to businesses. But I've talked about it with other operators too. And having that checklist is just easy because then you can make that a smaller checklist for the cleaners also who are checking the safety things. And then they can verify that inside an app or however you do it with your management to make sure that when they do the turn that you're all set up. Like you were saying, the Post-it note on that says the hot tub is clean. That's just genius to me. Like I said, I will never go in a hot tub that I don't think is clean. If I saw that, I would just be hard pressed to think they were lying, like going through the trouble to do that.
If it's a professional company and they've got the mark and you can see that, then that certainly makes sense.
Yeah.
Checklist Manifesto in the cleaners, you mentioned the cleaners getting involved. That's a huge one. We just saw one of our customers who had a claim 3 months ago. A guest said they slipped and fell on arrival, and they were able to push that claim completely away because on their checklist in Breezeway, the cleaner takes a picture that they've turned the outside lights on and off. So when you send that report in,
that's awesome.
How did your client get injured? Because we know the lights worked that night. Must have been a different house.
Right. But to something that we talked about before and that I've talked to with several short-term rental operators, there is a subgroup now of people who are looking for that free stay. Most are actually kind of malicious. Some aren't. Some really have an issue. But there's a subset who are intentionally going and then just trying to, they're in Reddit forums figuring out which things. When you have everything documented, and again, I was an attorney, I don't talk on the phone because I want every conversation documented. I want to see it in text. And same as you were saying, when somebody says, no, that didn't happen, I just send them a screenshot of the text, never hear from them again. Imagine that. So same with a lawsuit, you just send the thing in, or even if Airbnb is doing the querying first and you just send them the proof, like you're good. And that's why you need a system to do it. You can't just kind of freewheel it there.
Yep, absolutely. That's the game. That's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, so tell us about Breezeway. So you sold your company to Breezeway, and then now you've incorporated the safety system inside that. But what does Breezeway do on the overall scale?
So Breezeway is an operations platform, and we tie into all the other softwares. Most softwares that you hear about in the short-term rental industry, whether it's Hostfully, Guesty, Streamline, HostAway, all these different ones that are out there, they're really good at helping you manage your booking, get the booking, process it, all that stuff. What we do is the back of the house. And so we connect into those softwares. Now that task comes over. You have a booking. Here's the day it needs to be cleaned. Furnace filters need to be changed on this day. Guests are able to report that they have maintenance issues. All of the back of the house management of the property goes through our software. So naturally, that's where my safety checklists fit in. I'm
Yeah.
really, it's a software company. I'm the only employee there, probably besides our finance department and our HR, that is not directly involved with the software. And I am there to basically encourage people that by using it and doing my safety checklists, which are all embedded in the software, you'll be a professional operator and you'll move forward in a path that will certainly be more lucrative than not.
And is the course that you said, is that start on Breezeway somewhere?
Yep. So you don't have to be a Breezeway customer to use my safety course. In fact, on the fly right now, I'll write
Oh,
down a
I see it too. It's on, if you go to the site, then you go to resources and then safety program.
Yeah, I'll give a promo code. It's normally
Awesome.
$350 for the course. I'll do a promo code. Oh, I don't know. I'm going to get in trouble here. I'll knock the course
We
down
love
to
it.
just $50. I'll knock 300 off because I want your listeners to be as safe as
You're going to get a lot
possible.
of books on that one.
Yeah, so I'll give you a promo code that your listeners can use, and it takes 6 to 8 hours online. It takes less. Sometimes some people breeze through as fast as it takes to clean the property, and it's going to open your eyes to a lot of things. I'm honored that everybody who goes through the course writes me and says, "Wow, I've been a firefighter. I've had 32 of the fire marshals for different states in the U.S. have gone through the course."
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, "Wow, this is amazing." I have cleaners that go through it. I just had a 92-year-old woman take it with her granddaughter helping her. So, and everyone says this was entertaining, interesting, thought-provoking stuff we never thought of before. And the reality is we've almost saved as many lives with it by people just taking attention to their own homes.
Yeah. That's what I
And
was thinking.
short-term rentals, it's focused on short-term rentals, but it's actually probably the most comprehensive home safety course anywhere in the world. We have it in multiple languages. I have a Costa Rica version.
Awesome.
We've got a
Yeah.
French, so it's out there.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. We'll get the code. I'll drop it into the
Yeah.
show notes after. Before we hop off, is there any safety thing that we just missed? Is there anything that's like an up and coming safety hazard that short-term rental operators should be aware of?
Yeah, two quick ones. One, smoke alarms just changed. They just did probably the biggest change in smoke alarms in about 30 years. Smoke alarms have always had a problem with false alarms going off because of shower steam, burnt popcorn.
Yeah.
So you need to be up to date on the new Chapter 8 and new Chapter 9 changes from Underwriter Laboratories to smoke alarms. You're seeing them. If you've been into hardware stores lately, you're seeing all these fancy new smoke alarms. There's a reason. You need to understand why that is and certainly put the best out there. And the other one that you've got to pay real close attention to are lithium batteries. We're seeing a tremendous number of lithium batteries. Number one thing that a guest forgets when they come to stay at your property is the charger cord.
Yeah.
So then they're like running to 7-Eleven, Walmart, Target, buying an aftermarket cord. Then they're charging their e-bike, they're charging their drones, their boot heaters.
Yeah.
And just the same you're seeing everywhere else, airlines and every other form of travel that they're concerned. You should have those concerns there because we have had a number of fires, even just this year. I just saw one in Destin the other day from an e-bike from a charging issue. So a lot of things that you've got to focus on now related to lithium batteries.
Yeah. Awesome. I really appreciate it, man. No, this is the best place for people to get in touch with you guys. It's at breezeway.io.
Yep, Breezeway is a tech company, so we're a .io, and I'm easy to get in touch with. Short-term rental safety on all social media channels, Facebook, Instagram. I'm always talking every day. LinkedIn, I'm a little higher level, professional, thought-provoking, and
I love the content on LinkedIn. I spend much more. I like Instagram, but that's like my friends are on Instagram. LinkedIn, I like really. I try to keep curating the algorithm, and like I said, because I delete and remove a lot of the garbage, I end up finding people like you, and I'm like, oh my god, how was I missing this? But I really appreciate your content on LinkedIn because I think it's shining a light on something that really needs to be. And like we said, this whole conversation isn't to tell people, don't invest in short-term rentals. I mean, maybe if you really were worried about it, maybe you just decide it's not for you and you can invest in something else. But this is really a house safety issue. And if you can focus on this, take the course, which we're going to have a code for, you can really set yourself apart, like we said earlier. And I just think it's smart. And from an attorney's point of view, again, this is not legal advice, but it just seems like a better option to be ahead of the curve on safety than to be behind and calling, hey, can you fix something afterwards? Because as you said, wrong person to call then, got to call your attorney.
Every single facet of travel has safety training. You can't walk into a kitchen and be a cook without it. You can't walk into a hotel. You can't step on a tarmac at an airport or in a cruise ship. We just skipped that part. You're catching up, and I've made it easy to do that. It's a small investment at times. So I hope people do that, because you're going to be a better operator and you're going to make more money as a result of it.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I really appreciate spending the time. I hope I can bring you back when we get some new options. They start to put in some crazy amenities. We'll bring you back, talk about it then.
I could talk for days and days about safety. I can't wait to come back.
Yeah, me too. All right. I really appreciate it. That was Justin Ford, the international short-term rental safety expert. Follow him on LinkedIn, take the course, look for the code in the show notes. I'm Jonathan Greene. We'll see you next episode. Thanks for sticking around to the end so you can get a preview of who's coming up on episode 332 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. And I shouldn't say who, I should say what, because it's me. We're putting in a lot of solo episodes now. I love doing interviews, but I also want to have quick shows that you can take a bite out of, and that are actionable and related to me. Since I barely get interviewed, I do most of the interviewing. So on episode 332, I'm going to talk about how to make sure you are ready to invest in real estate. This is really for anyone who's trying to get into real estate or get back into real estate, and it's a lot about not collapsing on yourself. It's really a gut check to see if you are ready for it. See you next episode.